It is an honor for me to moderate the first webinar of the Inspired Women Lead. Thank you, Bonnie, for initiating this. Thank you, Wanuri, for accepting to join us on this first adventure for the Inspired Women's Lead. My name is Elsa. I was part of the first group of women to be mentored. And it is with great pleasure that I will introduce you one by one and then ask you some questions, as well as perhaps our audience will ask some questions. Bonnie, you said, if we aspire to positively transform our world, then we must promote women into leadership positions at all levels of society around the globe. To support your words, in 2016, you initiated Inspire Women's Lead, a movement to mentor women across cultures and borders to lead globally in authentic and feminine ways. Each woman who's personally mentored then mentors another woman. Today, the movement is in 38 countries and impacts over 500,000 people. This number is supposed to double this year. Bonnie is a master change catalyst and global speaker with a passion to inspire and challenge people to act on their greater vision. She has inspired audiences on all continents, including the World Health Organization and the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland, the YWCA World Council in Nairobi, Kenya, at Harvard University in the USA, at WIN Global Conference in Oslo, Norway, at Leadership Training Institute in Bogota, Colombia, Commission on the Status of Women at the United Nations, USA, Women's Leadership Forum in Bangkok, Thailand, amongst many others. Bonnie has founded 3 businesses, held management positions in education, business, and healthcare, and multiple community leadership positions, including here in Geneva. As World YWCA Global Ambassador of Women's Leadership, she spearheaded a global program of shared intergenerational leadership and mentoring model. You grew in the USA and you live now in Geneva with your husband. And apparently, thanks to your grandchildren, you keep being silly and relevant. Bonnie's book, Age Esteem, Growing a Positive Attitude Towards Aging, tells you more about her. Wanuri, thank you for accepting to be here today with us. Your family name, is Kahiu. You are a filmmaker, a writer of science fiction and fantasy, and a speaker. Your movies have received international acclaim and have screened in over 100 film festivals around the world. You are best known for your science fiction short film called Pumsy, which premiered at Sundance Film Festival in 2010 in Utah, USA. Wanuri is also a TED Talk and a World Economic Forum cultural leader, using your platform Afro Bubblegum to create, curate, and commission African art that is, and I love those 3 words, fun, fierce, and frivolous. Wanuri has just completed work on her second feature-length film called Rafiki, and is currently in post-production of another feature-length documentary called Jir, which is a true story about a Sudanese man in search of his family and finds a totally new country when he arrives in Sudan. You live in Kenya and you are also the mother of 2 young children. Welcome. If you allow me the first question, Bonnie, tell us how Inspire Women's Lead came into being. What led you to establish this movement?
I think in fact, it's the most important thing to know about me is I have this dream, and I dream of a world of peace, understanding, and collaboration. A world where each individual is valued and respected for her or his own uniqueness. And as you so well said before, I truly believe for this to happen, we must have women leaders at all levels of leadership and around the world. And I was asked, when I was speaking in Thailand, I was asked, well, Bonnie, what is your vision? And that's what I shared. And then I went home. And I'm sitting in the kitchen one day and I'm saying, really great words. really, and you believe it. It's really what you want. It is your passion and you know it's right. So what are you going to do about it? Mm-hmm. And within 3 months, I had already begun Inspired Women Lead. It began simply mentoring women from 9 countries. And those 9 women were mentored for 6 months. They then mentored another woman, each of them another woman from another country, another culture for the following 6 months. And so it grows exponentially. So that's the very simple answer to your question.
What about the name, the brand? How did it come about?
Well, you know, when you think about authentic feminine leadership, what do you think of? You think of something that's not just stepping up and trying to control or manage or fit into this, what I call the mailbox. We're looking at more this idea of inspiring others, drawing others towards what is good, what is real. And the women in the program are women with a fire in their belly. And you're going to hear Winuri. She's just one example. And wow. And that fire comes from inspiration. That fire comes from being passionate about something. So inspiration, inspired women lead. We can't do anything else. It's part of who we are, and therefore it's part of what this program is all about.
Thank you. Winuri, what's your vision? Or first, do you want to tell us a little bit about you first?
Okay. Well, my name, like you said, is Winuri Kahio, and I currently live in Nairobi with my family, which I'm super, super grateful for, because I just feel like I'm so supported and so loved. And it's such a beautiful thing. So I need to acknowledge that. And then I work as a filmmaker, and I have a film that releases later on this year. And I believe in Afro Bubblegum, which is the curation, creation, and commissioning of fun, fierce, and frivolous African art, because I truly believe that joy transforms everything.
So your vision in a greater...
It's so curious to hear Bonnie speak about her vision. It's so great. It's so great to hear it. So my vision is transforming people through images of joy. I think that if there's ways that we can connect, instead of, because we're so weighed down by a pessimistic view of the world, and if there was different ways of having more joyous images of ourselves, of our human experience, and create what I'm trying to call joy cultures, where we connect with each other through the ways that we have joy, then I think that we would be more willing to be trusting and open and loving towards people that we don't know, because we're sharing their joy. We know about their joy, and we're connecting through joy. So my revolution is a joyvolution. It's like it's really celebrating joy through art.
A joyvolution, a new
Yes.
word that needs to be added to any dictionary. Very good. Perhaps I come back to you, Bonnie. Why is Inspire Women's Lead cross-cultural? I know it is on purpose. Why?
You know, in the world we live in today, we can't ignore other cultures and other countries. And what I discovered already in my youth was when we have the opportunity to interact with people from different cultures, when we have this opportunity to travel, it makes such a difference. It opens our horizons. I grew up in a town in Pennsylvania where there were no Blacks within the city limit. And you can imagine how difficult it was for some of these big basketball players to, when they were competing, and you know how tough it is when you're competing, Well, I can remember one of my boyfriends. I always had basketball player boyfriends. Those who know me know I'm tall, so it's just natural. And I can remember my boyfriend saying, yeah, you know, these, and he had his own words, which were not the right ones. And I said to him, I said, have you stopped to talk to these guys? Have you even, you know, had a conversation? And so I arranged for that to happen. And it turned out to be one of his best friends in the end. And this is what happens. You know, we think it's fear. And that's why I love what Wanuri is doing so much. Because when we can take that fear and replace it with joy, this joy of understanding that other people have the same concerns we do. Other people have the same celebrations we do. We live them differently, in different ways. But deep down inside, we're all human. And I think that's one of the most important aspects of Inspired Women Lead. And when we come together on the group calls monthly, that's what I hear most from the women. It's what we have in common, what brings us together as a sisterhood, as opposed to what's different. And the reason that we purposely have women who mentor another woman who is not like her, who is of a different culture, who is of a different, from a different country, and most often even a different generation. And that might be an 18-year-old who is mentoring a 40-year-old, or that might be a 70-year-old mentoring, you know, a 50-year-old. But that is what our world today is all about. And that is how, one, we're going to build this global sisterhood of inspired, feminine, authentic leaders. And if we're going to have women in leadership positions at all levels of society and around the globe, then we must be interacting with each other. We must be helping each other. We must be supporting, encouraging, and mentoring each other.
If I might add one, I thought about this question earlier, and if I might add my piece of salt, so to speak, it made me feel part of a global community, to have those calls amongst us all and intercultural. So a community that to me was perhaps just where I live and where the people I see regularly, whilst through those calls, my community suddenly became worldwide. Regardless of age, culture, education, location, geography, it really broadens up, and it allows me to see that it's okay to be me. Everybody else is being themselves also, with similar or different problems from me at the current moment. Yet, as a human, I just can identify with anybody else. Whether you live north, south, east, west, it doesn't make a difference. So I personally appreciated the cross-cultural item in the program. Wanuri, how did you come to be part of the Inspired Women's Lead program?
Why did you ever join? I mean, we've heard about you.
Actually, I was recommended. Somebody recommended me to Bonnie. I believe it was Laura who recommended me to Bonnie. And then Bonnie reached out and said, well, we're doing this Inspired Women Lead mentorship program, and would you be interested? And when she explained it, it just sounded great first. And I was at the point in my life that I was looking for mentorship. So it just seemed in alignment. It seemed in complete alignment, because like maybe even months before that, I had been out loud asking for a mentor. And then Bonnie showed up. So it was perfect. It was just perfect alignment and timing.
Thank you. Inspire Women's Lead is a mentoring program. There are others out there. How does this one differ from the others, Bonnie?
Actually, it's probably better to have some of the participants in the program answer this. I certainly can share what I'm being told. And one of the situations that really sets us apart is the fact, first of all, the women, it's the choice of the women who join the program. The fact that you're not joining this program because you have certain goals to reach. You're joining this program because you have this fire within you. There's something that you want to do, and maybe you don't even know what it is, but you know you're meant to be doing something. So already the women who join the program, I believe, join with a very different purpose. Mm-hmm. And once again, I'm hearing it's also unique because it is all about you. It is all about the mentee. Once again, it's not telling her, this is how you're supposed to fit in order to do what you're doing. Not at all. It's really celebrating you, the unique individual that you are, and being able to blossom. And the other thing I'm hearing is the fact that you must be a mentee. Nobody joins this and becomes a mentor. You must be a mentee. You must be mentored yourself for 6 months. And at the end of those 6 months, then you mentor yet another woman from another culture for the following 6 months. And like I say, those in the program can say it better, and I'm sure we'll have a chance to hear from several of you. But it's the fact that all of a sudden you become a mentor, and it apparently is very empowering. Because, in fact, one of the women said to me, Bonnie, I don't believe it. Do you realize she's saying to me what I said to you when you were my mentor? And it's normal because you are guiding this woman in such a beautiful, natural, authentic way. But I'd really like to hear from certainly Wanuri, you, and maybe we could bring in one or two other people who are on the call and in the program. If not now, maybe a bit later. I'd really like that.
Wanuri, would you like to answer that, please?
I do. I want to add that, just to add to it. But would you repeat your question again as well?
How is it different from other coaching and mentoring programs out there? Because there are a lot of programs out there.
Okay. I don't know about other mentoring programs. I know that through Inspired Women Lead, I can only tell you my personal experience. First, I had the opportunity to have somebody ask me questions about my thoughts, my views, my vision, what I believed leadership was. And I had never articulated those things, which sounds very silly, but I had never articulated those things until I had been asked. And I was lucky enough to have Bonnie as a mentor. So Bonnie would ask me questions that are part of the program. And I hadn't thought about characteristics or just the very basic fundamental tools that define what I thought leadership was. And having those questions asked forced me to first think and then to say out loud what I thought and then having to reconcile what I thought of myself. And I watched my growth and my growth of what I believed I was at the beginning to what I was at the end. And it was just remarkable. That was the first thing about that I just found quite impressive and stunning about the program, is that you got to hear yourself out loud, and you got to hear somebody positively reflecting your words and your feelings, and just getting affirmation from somebody else to kind of just affirmation. From somebody else who's of a different generation, from somebody else who's from a different part of the world, and just positive affirmation that you were enough, which is silly. We are enough anyway. And then past that, I became a mentor after being a mentee. And being a mentor, I remember when joining the program, I was just like, oh, I can never be a mentor. I know nothing about being a mentor. I wouldn't even what do I have to mentor anyone? You know what I mean? Like, but after going through the program and then having to sit with somebody who's completely a different age and culture as well, and having to like reconcile the idea that I am mentoring somebody who's older than me, which is a huge like hurdle for me. I don't know if maybe everybody has the same, but for me culturally it was a huge hurdle. Where, I mean, I come from a culture when anybody who's older than you call them auntie so-and-so or mama so-and-so. Like they're given such like, you don't refer to people by their first name. So it was quite a big hurdle imagining that I would have anything to offer somebody who's older than me. And when we started, the connection was so immediate because it was so well, of course it was well curated because Bonnie's behind these things and she matches people up perfectly. But it was amazing. And I truly feel like I am of service. And that's a great feeling. It's a great thing to feel about yourself, that you're in service to another woman. And it's great. That's how it's different.
There is one word that hasn't been said, and to me, it touched me deeply. It's free. It's for free. There are a lot of mentoring programs out there, but you pay a bomb. You can pay the services of professionals, but you pay for that. And you get mentoring 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions, whatever many you need. This is free. To me, it just blew my mind away. And you start as a mentee, and I have got a first comment here that I can read to you. Love this, that you have to have been a mentee before you are a mentor. It addresses the top-down effect. The effect of becoming a mentor, you actually go through the theory and you really interiorize it. You receive, but then you have to give back. And in that exercise of giving back, not only it empowers you and you realize how powerful you are beyond your own know, but you actually interiorize the tools and the exercises, and the theory becomes really more part of you. To me, the FREEE is the big difference of all the other programs. And I join you, Wanuri, when you say you're giving back to society. You're being part of something greater than yourself, and you're giving back, which is just beautiful. Thank you, Bonnie. Oh, you are the initiator of all of this. This is the result of your vision.
It is indeed. I would like to say, though, I seem to be getting all of the credit here, and I accept it. I really appreciate it. However, I would like to say that we do have now a council of 5. So there are 5 women, I'm one of them, but all of whom are giving their time free to this organization as well. And to me, the idea of having this program be free is absolutely crucial, because I believe wholeheartedly that to be an authentic feminine leader, one of the greatest skills, qualities we have is unconditional acceptance of the other person. And that acceptance does not have any kind of a price tag on it. It is, I love you for who you are. I may not agree with you, and that doesn't matter. But I love you for who you are, not for who I want you to be or who maybe the world thinks you should be, but who you truly are. And to me, having it be free is really, really important. And if I could come back also to the idea that everybody must be a mentee before they are a mentor, I have been absolutely blown away by a certain number of women who are very experienced in their lives, who said they wanted to come on to mentor, and to whom I explained that would be wonderful. First, however, you must be mentored for 6 months. Not one of them said, oh, each of them so far has said, oh, yes, well, I was expecting this because this is how I'm going to know what I'm supposed to be doing. So there is no hierarchy here of people feeling that they know more, because we're all so different. And that is our quality. It's this uniqueness that we bring to the world. So thank you for letting me say that.
Somebody has just mentioned, Mafalda, whom we know, has just mentioned. Something I value in the program, we are led to be more of what we are and not mentored to become someone else.
Thank you, Mafalda.
That's exactly it.
Will you permit me? I'd like to unmute Mafalda. Mafalda, do you mind? I'm going to unmute you. If you could just say a couple words. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I was just writing this message, and as I typed in, Bonnie was saying the exact same thing, so it must be true. Because this is what struck me as different in this program. All other mentoring programs, well, not all other, but many programs try to teach us to be like this or like that, or have us reach a specific, usually business goal. And what really touched me and created this strong effect on me was that I am the same person, but I also feel a lot more powerful by being myself. And that is really the difference. That's how this program is different from other mentoring experiences.
Mafalda, would you just say where you're talking from?
Portugal, city of Porto.
Porto. Thank you. Thank you for that.
I would like to ask you, Wanuri, perhaps the impact the program has had in your life.
Gosh, the program has had a huge impact. It helped me really, because it happened at a time when I was going through exactly what Bonnie was going through, when she had an idea, she spoke it out loud, and then she thought, okay, I have to make this work. I have to put power and I have to breathe power into these words, and I have to breathe like being into these words. And I was at the exact same transition when it happened. I had spoken Afro Bubblegum out loud, and I had said, I believe this. And the response came back, and I thought, okay, if I believe it, then how do I execute this belief? And I was going through the mentorship at that very same time. So it helped me really define my vision. It helped me define what I wanted from the vision, like what my intention was. So and it gave me confidence, which is so important. It gave me the ability to just, I can't say that word enough, because I know that I've been in many places where I haven't felt like I'm meant to, I belong that in the room, or I belong around, just the certain peers I was around, and going through the mentorship helped me believe that I had a place, and I was enough, and I was relevant, and I was needed, and I was important. And it's incredible to feel like that after 6 months. It's incredible. 6 months. So for me, that's one of the greatest gifts that came from the mentoring program.
Thank you. We have a question here already. I'm not too sure it's the best timing, but I think we will just address it anyway. Whether we use this framework, whether we use or concept, if I can say, this movement outside of Inspire Women's Lead.
Can I answer that, please?
Yes.
I think there's no way that you're given a gift and you can't use it. You can't. There's no way you're given a gift and you can and keep it to yourself, especially something that is this powerful and this moving. I speak about every lesson with my close friends. I speak about what I learned, what I'm going through. And as a result, one of my close friends has said, I want to be part of that mentorship program. And she's joined up and she's going to be starting in the next session. So it's really hard to keep these things to yourself because there's so much abundance in them, and there's so much just learning and knowledge and love and understanding in them that you can't just limit it to the mentorship program or when you're being a mentee. I ask these very same questions of my friends because sometimes they actually need to be asked the questions, and unfortunately I don't have the ability or the time to dedicate the same amount of time that I've dedicated to the Inspired Women Lead program. So they don't get the full course, you know what I mean, as it's meant to happen and there's a very careful progression of one course to the next. So they don't get the benefit of that, but they do get the benefit of being asked questions or sharing information or learning or stories that you've heard from other women about everything. So for me, I found it very hard to keep it to just this one thing in my life because it affected everything.
If I might, in a way, we are changed. And once you're changed, you impact. And in fact, when I mentioned at the beginning that the program is touching 500,000 lives today, that's the number. This number comes from all the lives that we touch, the ripple effect. And once we are touched, it's irreversible. We cannot keep it to ourselves in a way. It will impact the way we communicate with others, in the way we are, in the way we lead, in the way we even are with our children or our family at home. It just does impact who we truly are. It empowers us and frees us and free to give more freedom. Skills. What are some of the skills and takeaways mentees and mentors will gain from joining the program, Bonnie, if I can come back to you?
I'd like to hear from the people on the call. What I can tell you is what Renee just shared with us, which was so powerful. Thank you for that, Renee. Has been shared by others. This question of confidence, knowing that you're enough, knowing that your uniqueness is in fact your strength, and that yes, you are meant to realize your dream. And one thing that really excites me no end is the fact that at the end of the 6 weeks, those dreams tend to be crystallized. And what's amazing is we all merge together with those dreams. What you're doing, what Renee's doing, what Renee's doing, what Mafalda's doing, what Andrea's doing, and so on, is it's different in its approach, but the end result is we are all striving to transform this world into the one we want it to become. And it's the power that comes with being confident, I think, more than any other one thing. Just recognizing who you are, the value of your authenticity, and the value of your femininity. And to lead as who you are, not trying to fit into a box. You know, for one of my birthdays, I took the whole family whitewater rafting. And I often think when I'm talking about fitting into that box, how difficult it was to get into those wetsuits, you know, that they make you put on before you go, because you're tugging, you're squeezing, and you're yanking in all directions. And that's a bit what it is out there in the world, trying to fit into these different models. And that's not what we're meant to be doing. I'm absolutely convinced. But I would love to hear from some of the people on the call. I know there are some on the call who are in the program. Not everybody is.
if I might read, Maya just wrote, can only imagine the growth potential, a privilege to be among the first 100. You, if I might quote something, you, during the mentoring, and I was happy and honored to be mentored by you too, you use a text that is just stunning, and we all know it through you, that says, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who am I not to be? And so on. You can conclude if you want, you can say more about it, but yes, we are all meant to be healthy, happy, and do our own path in life, not copy somebody else. We all come for our own mission, with our own personal mission. Biggest challenges, Bonnie? What do you foresee as the biggest challenges, perhaps, for women in general and for women in leadership today?
I would say the greatest challenge for the world today is to begin to value femininity as they do masculinity. I believe that when the feminine has the same value as the masculine, then we'll have this parity. Because, you know, Inspired Women Lead it's a global movement. It's meant to sweep the world. We are on all continents already. It's not meant to push anybody out. It is meant to be able to complement what there is already there and to make the world function better as a result. So, and that will come with this femininity being able to complement the masculinity. Keeping in mind, we all have the feminine and the masculine within us, the yin and the yang and all the rest. But this idea of valuing what we bring as women. You know, we bring the soft skills, and those soft skills are being embraced by the world. So they're no longer soft skills. They're now called essential skills. Well, soft should be a good word. Mm-hmm. Soft should be fine for anybody, male or female. And a year ago, by the way, happy International Women's Day to everybody here. A year ago on International Women's Day, I attended a panel. And at the end, one of the women said, when my daughter comes down dressed as Batman, and my son comes down dressed as Wonder Woman, and I think nothing of it, then I will know that parity is at least present within me. And I love that illustration because, I mean, who wants to see their son come down dressed as Wonder Woman? But we don't think a thing of the girl who comes down dressed as Batman. So that, I think, gives an illustration of this kind of balance I'm talking about. Renee, do you have something to add to that? Or a different thought?
No, I love that story. I just think it's just such a great story. And it really made me, the first time I heard it from you, it really made me evaluate exactly that, what I thought about femininity and masculinity, and in a way that I hadn't even began to think about it before. And the very, very small biases that we have towards women that we unknowingly have. And unfortunately, it's become so natural in our language that we say things like a girl or a woman's blouse, or don't, you know what I mean? Where I think we should twist that. I mean, how can you, like, a girl is such a privilege to be called that. Like a woman is such a because of the strength of it. So you should want people to call you a woman. You should, like, that should be something that we aspire to, and that should be something in our language that we change so that we can be people who are proud to be called women or insulted by being called women. I just think that it would be revolutionary. But it starts with language. And the first time I heard that story, I realized the language or the background noise in my head that tells me that I am not enough.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, there's a very interesting opportunity for each of you to simply go on the Harvard Implicit Association Test site. Just when you have it, just mark down IAT, and when you have a moment, Google it. You may take a test on there to measure your hidden bias when it comes to gender. There, you can do other ones too around age and such, but I encourage you to do the one on gender, because even as women, we have our biases, and they're not very friendly ones. Keeping in mind that these are hidden biases. We don't even realize we have them. And that's because we've been hearing certain things our whole life. And it's natural for us to believe them because we hear them all the time.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
What would you advise future mentees or interested mentees? People who consider...
I would ask them to join, and sorry, I have a little person, as you can see, peeking up behind me, so you have to forgive them. I would just advise that to be ready when you're doing this program, because it does require you to be honest with yourself. So, and be willing to be open, because I think that the program works best when you're open and you're vulnerable, and you really consider the questions and you apply them to your life. That's the only thing that I would advise anybody to do, because remember that people are giving away their time to spend with you. So when you show up authentic, so that you can learn how to be authentic.
I think that is the first gift, I remember encouraging somebody to participate. And I said, it is a gift you are giving yourself, to take time for yourself, to think, to consider the questions that are thrown at you that you have never addressed. You have mentioned this point before. You have never even thought, taken the time, considered, how do I like to communicate in my workplace? How do I like to communicate with my family or friends? Many questions I was asked, and I was totally, my goodness, I've never even considered that. I never gave it a thought. I never thought anybody would ask me that. So it is definitely a gift to oneself, free.
I'd like to share something, because there are people on this call who probably are interested in being mentored. And then maybe there are some others that are here with some other interests in mind. And I'd like to just share a story, and it's true. As you know, in the United States, university is very expensive. And I was fortunate enough to go to university. I knew it was going to happen already when I was 5 years old, because it was just understood in the family you'd go to university. I had to work my way through university, though. I worked 20 hours a week, as well as being a full-time student. And I did everything, probably most anything you can say, except sell my body. I did not do that. But I was a telephonist, I was a soda jerk, I was a waitress, I was a model, I did, whatever. And I got mononucleosis because I was just so exhausted doing everything together. And then my senior year, I got a scholarship from the Zonta Club of Businesswomen. And it wasn't a very big amount, but that amount made it possible for me to not have to work, because my father was footing half of the bill. I was footing the other half. And I think of that, and I think there are also people out there who are too busy maybe to take time out now to be mentored, or they don't feel they need it, but maybe they'd like to contribute in another way. And I would encourage you, if that's the case, to visit the site and see if this is something that attracts you. And if so, go to the donate page. And I say that because I realize how much depth there is to the giving. I would love for you to be able to be in the program and for you to be able to go through this experience. But if you want to participate in some other way, that is a possibility. And I do invite you to do that, remembering how much it meant to me at one point and realizing, you asked earlier, what do you think is the greatest concern? And I thought you were going to relate it to Inspired Women Lead. And one of my concerns for Inspired Women Lead is how to keep up with this potential growth, this exponential growth, and still keep it personal. And in order to keep it personal, we actually have to be investing in a lot of technology so that we have the time to spend on the personal rather than all kinds of busy work. And how to make it sustainable so that it will go on forever. Mm-hmm. And that means, and I've begun it means me letting go before I've even completely taken it over. And this is something that I think is part of authentic feminine leadership too, is this idea that we are here to help others. We are here to see that perhaps what we're doing will go on beyond us. And I just think that's also a side of this that's important to express. It's not about one person. It's not about just the women who are in the program today. It's about something that is growing exponentially and will hopefully go on forever.
Mm-hmm. We have a question from somebody in the audience. How can I join?
Wonderful. We would love to. The easiest is to go on the website. And the website, my husband did this for us. I just think it's fantastic. The website is inspiredwomenlead.org. And there is an opportunity there for you to just give us your name and somebody will be in contact with you. And it's very simple from then on.
I think we have a little bit more than 10 minutes left. If anybody has questions, this would be ideal moment to ask them. And if not, but probably yes, I would like to hear Wanuri tell us more about her art and about her projects.
Afro bubble gum. Yes.
Okay, so my projects are, I have a film coming out called Rafiki, and it's a feature-length narrative film that is based on a short story called Jambula Tree, and it's a story about two girls, a coming-of-age story about two girls who fall in love, and the community around them and how they react to these girls' love, these girls being in love. And it's such a sweet love story, and I'm so fortunate that I had an opportunity to tell it, and it should be coming out soon. And then I am fully committed to Afro Bubblegum, which is finding ways to get African artists to collaborate, especially imaginative African artists, because curiously, not all African art is agenda driven, and a lot of the funding that we get as African artists has to do with agenda, either healing or curing or trying to save something. And this space, though that is important, Afro Bubblegum art is paying homage to imagination first led work. And while that sounds really basic, we do not have the government systems or the private support systems to allow this to happen. So one of the things that we're doing through Afro Bubblegum is raising money so that we can fund artists to create for the sake of creation, so that they can create joy through the work that they do, and bringing artists together, joyful artists who are already working in the medium of joy together to collaborate on projects, so that they can create a joy culture through just the ability to be part of that workshop. So that's what Afro Bubblegum is doing.
Thank you very much. And your two movies, the two long ones, I looked a little bit into it. There is a bit of art, but there is also the autobiography of Jer, for example. So there is a mix of styles and of approaches to your work and to your continent.
Yeah, because it's so diverse. It's because it's fun, fierce, and frivolous. But yes, I'm working on many different types of work. I did a short science fiction film, and I'm very, very curious about creating science fiction, and I write science fiction stories, and I'm curious about bringing them to life because they're very much based in the life that we have now. And then I just, there's some wonderful people I'm lucky enough to meet, and I'm able to tell their stories. So the stories come the way they come, and I just try to honor them.
I think I'm a little concerned because Winuri is such a fantastic individual. And it's just been amazing to hear her explain that the program has benefited her, because I imagine people on the webinar are sitting here saying, right, but gosh, she has it all together. Who am I to join this program? And I think what's fantastic was hearing you, Winuri, to know that no matter where we are in our life and in our career and in action towards our vision, we really need to know that we are enough. And I think it's interesting to know also the other kinds of people we have in the program, because we have a variety, and it would be interesting, maybe Elsa, if there's anybody else here who would like to just express, their reason for joining or questions you might have.
I don't see anybody. Nobody's coming along. I think they're impressed, like I am with Winuri. But as you just mentioned, Bonnie, I really wanted to really tell everybody, because I was just thinking the same you mentioned. We all are important. We all are unique. And perhaps we have not encountered somebody who has told us, you are unique, you are important, you are enough. Just come forward, just take that first step, and we will help you develop that. We will ask you the questions that will make you realize how unique and important you are too.
And maybe it's interesting to know we have people in the program who are entrepreneurs, who are just beginning a business. We have some who are striving to break their way into government. We have women who are mothers and are running home businesses. We have women who have dreams of creating special programs for the world. We have refugees. We have people like you and me. It's really meant for everybody. And the youngest that we've had was a student, 18. And I think the oldest today is maybe, 77. So there is a variety. And I didn't want to cut you off, Winuri. I just want to be sure that people know that everybody starts at the same point here.
Yes. We would like to hear from Renee, I think.
Yeah, if I may. Hi, I'm Renee. I'm currently in the program. It's, I think, the 4th month now. And I'm from Netherlands. I live in the Netherlands, but I've been in Singapore the last 5 years for work. And I just wanted to share that my reason for joining and also my vision and dream is indeed very different. And when I heard Nori speaking, I'm like, oh my gosh, indeed, a little bit like this is the big thing. For me, I'm a little bit more at the end of my career, but I just felt this is the right thing for me to do, the right moment. I am open, definitely what you said, Banuri, that's what you need. And for me, the dream is much more on a micro level. So I just enjoy what I can do with one person or with a small group or, you know, my family, or I've done that in HR in my business roles, but I want to continue that. And if I can do that for one person, 5 people, you know, maybe 20, then my dream is also, that's my dream. And that's also a good dream for me. So wanted to share that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Indeed, I don't think there is a question of size. That's exactly what Bonnie said. We are all unique. We are enough. And each dream, and we are not here to judge anybody. Like you said also, Bonnie, it's so important. And if I can just wrap up, unless if there are any other questions left, and if so, please go ahead, as we have 4 minutes left. We did mention that unconditional acceptance amongst us in the group is fundamental value. And there is no price attached to that. Therefore, the program is free. It starts with your vision, or at the end, that will be what carries us through, and that we will help you develop and become aware of and keep on developing. It's not static, but that's the goal, is to connect to yourself and see which fire burns in your belly, to take the same image you used, Bonnie, before. It remains cross-cultural. It's important. It makes us understand we are all part of this big world community, that we are all humans. We start all as a mentee, and then we become a mentor, which really empowers us. Authenticity is also extremely important. We are all enough and we are unique, and we must remain authentic to who we are, who each person individually is, point. And all this with the goal to develop your strengths, to develop your dreams, to empower you to become an actor for your own life, for your own fire, to make it become something, to realize what you came to this life for. And we spoke about the challenges of the program, the growth perhaps, but that's just logistics. And I have no doubt that we will come around that. We will find good solutions for that. And Bonnie, you also mentioned that the femininity, the equality of the world, the femininity being equal to masculinity, that's the big challenge of the world today. And I would like to invite each one of you to have a last word, a few last words, sentences. If you want to start, Bonnie.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for that wrap up. That was fantastic. Really very articulate and well done. And thank you, Winnery, for just being who you are. You are one of the how many are we now? 100 stars. And thank you for sharing. And I look forward to hearing from anybody who is interested in following up. To me, it'll be a gift to hear from you.
Wanuri?
Yes. So there's this thing Bonnie keeps saying, and she will at some point, that she's going to make a book of quotes from the mentors and the mentees. So what I want to leave with is a quote from my mentee that she doesn't know that I highlighted and like underlined so that I can pass it on, because it's so beautiful. And this is what she said as a result of her question about leadership. She says, "True leadership comes from my heart and my soul because I dedicate it to my higher purpose." And I just thought that's such a wonderful way of just encapsulating what gifts we get from this Inspire Women Lead. And it's such a joy and a pleasure to be part of it. And I'm so honored that I had an opportunity to speak today, to just share my excitement and my joy about being part of this program. Thank you so much, Bonnie, and thank you so much, everybody, for being here and for joining us and for moderating. You did such a great job moderating, Elsa. Thank you.
We have got several thanks, and I will just go through one or two. In the growth, please keep the passion. Julie Judge, I'm not too sure the names. Thank you for that. Somebody else, Betty Nelly, says, what a gift I have received from all of you this morning. Inspiration, harmony, growth. What a wonderful work. Thank you all. We all make this happen. Thank you.